You see the way I'm talking to you? I'm talking this way because I don't respect you.
So it seems that the writers came to an agreement with the studios, and therefore the writers are back at work, which is probably why you're seeing, Colbert and, Jimmy Fallon and those goons back on TV, or at least, I don't know if you're watching them. I'm certainly not. I can't understand why anyone would want to watch those people, but they're there, and that's largely because the writers are back to work. But the actors aren't. And I'm looking at the AP, the Associated Press, and there was an article that came out where they interviewed the SAG president, Fran Drescher, and some of you probably remember her from her years as playing the nanny. So before I get into the story with Fran Drescher and the actors out in Hollywood, I just want to give a shout out to Ms. Karen Meza. She's sent us a picture of her and the book The Ouroboros. If you haven't picked up your copy yet, if you haven't purchased one yet on Amazon, the link is below, and it's doing really well. Don't forget to leave a review, because that helps out as well. Let's get to this report here from the AP. It says, SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher reacts to Hollywood studios breaking off negotiations. So apparently they got all this their information, and they got this big offer on the table, and so the studios are reviewing this offer, but things don't go according to plan. So let's get right into this article. It says, Fran Drescher has steered the Actors Guild through its months-long strike on the heels of Hollywood studios abruptly breaking off talks with the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. This week, the actor and union president says she's baffled and disappointed. I mean, why are people still disappointed, and why are people still baffled by what's going on? It's clear as day. What is happening is you have two parties here. Each party is wanting to increase their amount of monies that's on the table for these productions. The studio wants a bigger cut of the pie. The actors want a bigger cut of the pie. It's really not that difficult to fathom. What is difficult is in that you have completely different ideas of what that share looks like. Let's continue on. The Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers announced Wednesday that they had suspended contract negotiations, saying the gap between the two sides was too great to make continuing worth it, and characterizing their offer as good as the one that recently ended the writer's strike. Drescher told the Associated Press in a Thursday interview that she did not understand why negotiations collapsed, but that her union's resolve was not weakened. So she's digging in her heels. They all are. The interview has been edited for clarity and brevity. Not to mention, it's probably cleaned up so that she doesn't, make everyone all more upset than they already are. This kind of reminds me of two people breaking up, and I think if you think back on some bad breakups, this is what it seems like to me. I could attest to this, in my own experience, where you break things off and you're like, yeah, you go your way, I go my way, and she calls back and says, look, can we just talk it out? I just want to talk it out. I'm like, I don't really want to talk about this because your ideas are different, way different than mine, and. But some assurances are like, yeah, no. Let's just be reasonable about this. Let's be adults about this, and let's get together and we'll talk about these things, right? And we'll compromise. Okay, there's a compromise. So maybe perhaps to my, in spite of my better judgment, I go along, and I go to have this meeting with this ex, and sure enough, as soon as the talks start to take shape, I realize that there really is all this about me shifting or about me changing what I have to do to accommodate her, and so that's when the whole talk breakdown just collapses the entire thing. And that's what this feels like to me. It feels like the studios are like, yeah, we made this offer, you made a counter offer, and we got together in good faith, but then you changed the terms somewhere along the way, somewhere between your Uber picking you up and taking you to the restaurant, you changed some of the conditions. And that's probably what's going on here. And I'm not saying that the studios are high and mighty here. They're probably not being reasonable either. Let's continue on what's going on. So here's the first question that she's asked. Can you talk about what happened in your negotiations with the AMPT? So Drescher's response is, they had given us a proposal package. We worked for like 36 hours on it. We brought it back to them. We walked them through it, and they left and then called a few hours later and says, we're breaking negotiations. It's not only baffling, but wholly disappointing and counterproductive. I've never really met people that actually don't understand what negotiations mean. Why are you walking away from the table? And to what end do you hope that will accomplish anything? And in this interview, I noticed that she says that a few times, and it's like kind of hard to read. But anyway, I get it. There's a lion's share here that's got to go somewhere, okay? And I get what the actors are saying. I do. I don't pretend to be somebody with any real insight into Hollywood, but I get it, because the actors, you're making a lot of money off of I'm thinking of it from the actors' point of view. The studios are making a lot of money off of them. Okay, let's just be real here. So the actors are putting themselves out there. They're the ones learning the lines. They're the ones doing the stunts. They're the ones that are on front of the camera. That's not easy to do. And then you have the studios going, well, we're putting up all the money. We're putting up all the capital. We're the ones who have the studios. We're the ones that are building, what we need to build in order to. We're the one fronting everything. So you have the banks, essentially going, the money is, you can't do it without us. And then you have the actors going, well, you can't do it without us. Who has the bigger set here? Who's got the bigger balls here? That's really what we're talking about, essentially. And so Drechsler's like, well, we're going to put ours on the table. We're just going to see how long this thing takes. I get it. This is going to be very interesting to see how it ends. I don't particularly have a side on this in terms. I don't mean I don't have a side on this. What I mean is I'm not pulling for one over the other. Like, I'm not on the side of the studio. I think somebody had commented to me that it sounds like I'm on the sides of the studio. No, I'm actually not on the sides of the studio. I understand where they're coming from, and I'm also understanding where the actors are coming from, but for whatever reasons, who's got the bigger balls? That's really what we're talking about here, and I think the studios do. I do. So it's not that I think that I'm siding with the studio. I'm just saying that they seem to have the advantage, and so you're just going to have to cut your losses somewhere and make some compromises that perhaps you didn't want to make in order to go forward. You'll figure something out along the way. That's how I would approach it. But hey, I'm curious to see what you guys think. Do you think that taking a hardline stance here is wise for the actors? Given that we're many months into the strike, and there seems to be no end in sight. I think a lot of us want to see production take off again. I think everybody really does. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who's going to break first. And I honestly think the actors are going to break it eventually, because you have your top tiers, but then you have the lower tiers. They're like, hey, we're starving out here. We have to start making money. Curious to know. Drop a comment, please. If you're new to the channel, hopefully I earned your like. Hit that like button. Share this video with others, and let's get a conversation going. Until next time, God bless.
New Kingdom Radio Theater.